This is Damian Macy, representing the Friends of the Marshall Public Library Oral History Project. And today is October the 26th, 2016, and I'm at the library with Tim Duke. He's been a lifelong resident of this area, lived away a little while, but he's got some early memories, I'm sure, to tell us about, and also about his early life experiences. And with that, here's Tim Duke.
How you doing? Marshall, now, like I said, I was gone for a while, but I was born in Terre Haute, Indiana, at the St. Anthony's Hospital then, and I weighed 9 pounds and 12 ounces. I was the biggest of my. There was four of us. There was four siblings. And but anyway, I lived out at the Dunlap area. That's where I was raised, just right off the Dunlap Road, just probably an eighth of a mile from the church. I mean, you can see the church. We used to have the Dunlap United Methodist Church, and that's where we went to church as we was growing up. And my father's name was Harry Duke Jr. And he was born and raised in Terre Haute. My mother's name was Frida Dawson before they got married. That was Fred Nell Dawson's one of their daughters, and they lived right around the corner from the church, and that's where my mother was raised. So anyway, her and my dad got married, and there's four of us kids.
Family stay close to home then.
Yes. My mother's name was Frida, Freda. And so anyway, there was first my oldest brother, his name was Harry Edward. We called him Ed. He was born in 1946. And then my brother Bill, his name was William Henry Duke. We called him Bill. And he was born in 1949. And then I was born in 1950, and of course after three boys, my mother didn't want another boy, so they tried one more time, and finally in 1955 they struck pay dirt, and they had my sister Diane was her name, and but all four of us, she was the smallest, she weighed 9 pounds, and then I was the heaviest at 912, so we all weighed 9 pounds or more.
Wow.
So my mother was a brave woman. So, but anyway, we were raised there, right there in that area, and unlike today, you'd call that probably a sheltered life. I mean, you went to church, you'd come home, and you'd have a family meal at the table, and then maybe the kids would go outside, and that you didn't go running around or do that. You were taught the values of life. And I'll tell you, the morality back then was just awesome.
Did your mother put out a big garden and do a lot of things from the home place to put on the table?
She put out a garden once in a while, but the good thing was with her mother, my grandmother living around the corner. Fred and Nell Dawson was their names, and they used to do stuff together. They would can, and we. My grandmother had some chickens, and we had chickens, and then a few chickens, and then, of course, then my grandmother would behead them there in the yard. We'd watch them run around without a head for a minute, but yeah, they canned tomato juice and green beans and all that stuff because whatever it took to save money.
Sure.
Because there was four kids, and it's not that, and we didn't do without, but we had to live tight, being four kids. My father, he used to drive a truck over the road, and he finally my mom said and we were doing pretty good then, but my mom said I can't raise these kids by myself, so he pulled off the road, so that really tightened things up. And he got a job in Terre Haute, and finally in 1959 he got the call to become a pastor, so he became a pastor. Well, besides his full-time job, he was now a pastor, and there at one point he had 4 country churches around here. That was Auburn and Oliver and Asbury and Livingston. He had all 4 of those churches, besides working full time. And we were in church all the time. And revivals, I mean, my grandma told my mom, "You're going to drag those kids out again?" She said, "Yes, I am. If they're with me, I know where they're at." And so we were at church a bunch. So anyway, all of us. In fact, now for myself. When I started school, I came to kindergarten here in Marshall, and I was at the basement. My kindergarten class, Miss Conemacher, was my teacher, and I was in the basement of where the district office is now. That was my kindergarten class. And then for first grade, I went out to Livingston. There was a schoolhouse out of Livingston that had first, second, third grades. So at one time, me and my 2 brothers were together. Well, actually, no, that's not true. Me and Bill were together. My brother Ed, he'd already come back into town. But Miss Jenny Brown was a teacher out there. She taught 3 grades. And when I got out of first grade out there, they closed down the school. Now, a lot of people would say, I closed the school down, but I didn't. And out there at that school, you had outhouses. You didn't have inside bathrooms.
Now, were your parents still living? You were living out in that Livingston area then at that time too?
No, Dunlap.
Or Dunlap?
Yeah, out there.
Okay.
Yes, and this is where we started school. Well,
did you have a bus to get into town to kindergarten? When you
yes.
Were? Okay.
Yes, can't remember, but yes, we did. And then after first grade, I came to South School for second grade, and they had that new addition there built. Of course, they still had the big building, the big South School and the big North School. Well, after second grade, I went to North School for third and fourth, and then I went back to South School for fifth and sixth. So I wasn't confused. And then of course, the junior high and on to that. But all through my school years, Harold Elshoff was our bus driver.
Really?
Yes, he was our bus driver, and lucky for us, he really liked the Duke boys.
Music may have had a little bit to do with it.
Yes, I think so. But we really had a good life, a good family life, and a life I'd like to see a lot of people have today.
Did you have some particular chores and things that you had to do around home on that?
Yes. Just like mowing the grass, cutting the weeds, and you didn't have a riding mower. You had to push mower, and we had an acre. And a lot of people think, well, that's not a lot, but I mean, that's including the house. But when you're push mowing those old heavy push mowers, and you cut weeds with a weed sickle, either the short one or the big one, depends how big the weeds were. And boy, when you done, and my dad worked Monday through Friday, and we always hated it when he didn't work Saturday, because he always has to do something. I bet it took us 5 years to clean the basement downstairs, and never did get done. We had that old basement. The old washing machine was down there. Mom had a ring washer. We had a coal furnace, a coal hopper. They'd come and they'd put the coal down through our basement, went into a coal bin, and we had to shovel, fill up the hopper. We had to go in real cold weather. We had to go down in the middle of the night and make sure it didn't go empty.
A few ashes to take out too, weren't there?
Clinkers. Clinkers, yes.
I've taken a lot of those out too.
Oh my goodness. We had a place out in our north driveway that we didn't work, that we used. We just put them in there. And one day my mom was washing clothes, and I was down there playing. I was going around one of the poles, and I kept my eyes shut like this, and I fell into the clinkers. And you still see the scar.
There?
They brought me out to Doc Mitchell. He gave me 2 shots in there. And
is that Dr. George?
Dr. George, 7 stitches.
Ooh.
And I'll tell you, that hurt. I can remember that. I was only 7. But when I was 3, I got a scar here. I was up at my grandmother's riding this little train thing. I hit the end of her step, come over, and hit right on the edge, hit this, and it was just, most of my nose was just hanging.
Ouch.
So they had to, thank goodness I don't remember that. But
And you're not accident prone either, are you?
well, my brother Bill says I am because that's why he likes to take me on vacations, because everything happens to me. And that's the truth.
When you were in those early grades at school, do you have some particularly fond memories of, say, what you did at recess or what you did with your brothers in home? Or,
well, let me.
your spare time.
Let me tell you a couple of things I did in. Well, let's start at home. At home, me and my brothers, we played baseball constantly because we had little things set up where we could play, and if it was nice weather, we was out there playing baseball. We'd come in of a night. This is during the summer. We didn't have school. We played Monopoly till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and of course we made our own rules up. But we'd sit at the kitchen table and play, and our parents, as long as we didn't get noisy, they didn't care. But that kept us out of trouble. We used to, of course, we'd get a little bit of trouble. Like me and my brother Bill, when we were going to Dunlap, my mom always dressed us alike because there's only a year, a month, a day, 12 hours and 22 minutes between us. And we figured that out one day because people kept thinking we were twins. So she'd dress us alike.
Oh, really?
Yes. So we was in a classroom with her. Wanda Keener was our teacher.
Okay.
And she was teaching, and she looked at me and she goes, "Now Tim, I want you to answer." I said, "I'm not Tim." I said, "He's Tim." She goes, "Tim?" He goes, "I'm Bill." I said, "He's Tim." And then she told our father, and that stopped that real quick. And so one day he decided to come in and teach the class, and he says, "Now I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna treat you all like I do my boys at home. If you get out of hand, you got to answer this." And he had undone his belt, and it came off his pants that quick, and he just swung it over our heads. He did just a scare tactic, and we're all going. Of course, we weren't because we knew.
It worked. Though,
We felt it a lot.
It worked.
We had the best class in church. But our parents had raised us very strict. I mean, we were raised with a belt, and not that we needed it, but in this day and age, they'd call it abuse. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, it planted a great seed in us.
I'm sure.
And of course, my brother Ed kind of went off the grid for about 40 years, but his last years were great before he died.
The early years there too, did you do some things just, I guess, out of your own mind to make up and do some things in time? Because kids today don't seem to do much in the way of ingenuity of their own thinking.
I'll tell you, I could do a lot of stuff. I like being off by myself, believe it or not. I mean, I used to, like it could be baseball cards or whatever. I just took care of all my stuff. I mean, you'd put stuff back where you got it, and you'd make sure it was all in a certain box and mark. This day and age, just throw it to the side. But we used to make up games. We used to get on our bikes and play cops and robbers, and we'd be chasing the neighbor kids. We was the cops, and we'd pull them over, and every so often, our mother would give us a dime each. We'd ride all the way up to Denison to Joe John's store. Well, Joe had an old country store up there. And for that dime, you remember the old Royal Palm soda? We'd buy a bottle of that. We'd buy a bag of peanuts. We'd pour it into the bottle, and that'd be our treat.
Yeah.
And we'd ride all the way up to Denison. That's a good ride from Dunlap up to there.
Yes, it is.
But we'd do it, and it was all gravel roads too. There was no blacktop.
You didn't have to worry about being run over by a semi either, did you?
No. Now, there was another store. It's called Elders, It was right on this is 470. It was right off of 40. 40 was the main highway.
Yeah.
So we'd come down Dunlap Road and we would ride to it. And we'd ride on the pavement, watching behind, and then the cars come, we go. One day I got in between the pavement and that gravel and it threw me. Yeah. But one day Bill and I rode all the way out to Livingston
Oh, gee.
to visit a couple girls. And so we stayed out there, and we were heading back, and my dad had got home, so my mom sent him out to find us.
Found out?
He met us. Well, no, we had permission, but he finally met us at the Bland Road out here and threw our bikes in the back and took us on home. But yeah, we had. She let us do that. I was surprised.
Those early days in school, I know there wasn't such a thing as a cafeteria, and there wasn't a fancy drinking fountain or anything. Did Mother fix your meals to take to school for lunch?
Yes, we had these little pails. They were like oval shaped. Had handles. Mine was a dark green and Bill's was a light green. That's how it. But yeah, they were pails. They weren't just regular lunch boxes, because you put the lid down almost like and you'd have to pull it off like that. And it had a handle. You carry them, and of course we had cafeterias as time got older, but in school. But yeah, but practically all the time through we had. Of course, you had your milk period. When they'd come in and say it was a penny a piece for milk. Now you want one or two. If you wanted two, you had to raise both hands. And you had to say if you wanted chocolate or white. And a lot of times they were conveniently out of chocolate. And when we was living at home, we actually had a Borden's milkman that came in his Borden's truck and delivered our milk.
Is it in a glass bottle?
It started out in glass bottle, and then they went to, they finally started making cartons. We could not open a new one until we finished the old one. And sometimes, or they wouldn't order new milk until we got that. And sometimes it was rough. And old Herman Schatz lived across the way from us. He had a cow, one cow, that's all he had. So my dad decided, asked him if he could have some milk out of that cow. So he brought it over in a pail. My dad poured it in a glass. All his glass full. He said, I want you to drink that. We tried to drink it. I mean, it's straight from the cow.
Half cream, probably.
Yeah. So we drank it. And finally, my mom made him stop, because I was about to throw up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she thought we were going to throw up. She said, Harry, you quit letting them drink that. She said, they're going to get sick. And I was going, go, Mom, go. But my point with that is that, see, back then, you didn't waste anything.
No.
You know, you just, like now, if the milk's out of date, I won't drink it. Lana will tell you, she'll go, but I said, it's out of date, I'm not drinking it. So we either have to drink it because all that time that you had to drink it all, you didn't get a new one, or we weren't going to order anymore. And it's just, that same way with the food. You put that food on your plate, you finish it. Or if it's something you didn't like, you got to try a bite. And then you want dessert, that plate better be emptied. And you only get one fork. You don't throw your fork away and get a new fork for dessert. You lick it off, set it back down, and then you get dessert. I mean, that's just the way things were then. I mean, you had to, you did whatever it took to, to save money. I remember when Mom and Dad brought groceries in, like on Friday, $20, you'd have 11 of those big, regular sacks, paper sacks, 11 bags full for $20. Now $20, you don't even need a sack. And but we used to. So anyway, they would they'd say, okay, we're going to go up to Twin Lakes. They have the rides on that. You each get $1. Don't ask for any more. And of course, you could ride for 10 cents a ride. But the minute that $1 was gone, you're done. That was before you even left home. I mean, that's where I think that we were taught the appreciation of life and what it's all about.
And things go only so far.
Absolutely, and I appreciate the values that I was given or taught. I mean, that helped me in my own life. But I'm like anybody else, if you can get a little more, the right way. I mean, you say, well, I don't need that, but well, I got the money, I might as well get it. And I think that's what's happened in a lot of situations.
You were living in the country. Well, how about shopping? Where did you do most of your shopping?
Terre Haute. We, in fact, every once in a while we'd come out here, go to the Red and White, or Dwayne Huey. Excuse me. And the reason we come out there because my brother Ed in high school, he worked there on the school program. And so we come out here once in a while to get groceries. But even as a, excuse me, I'm sorry. Even as a kid growing up, even as a teenager, we done a lot of running around Terre Haute because we don't live a mile from the state line. And of course, you only had, two drive-ins, I guess. The north and north drive-ins, east side drive-in. And a story that was cute when we got into high school, because my dad, real preacher, he said, now, if you boys are just going with the guys, he said, you can wear shorts. But if you take a girl, you can't wear shorts. I go, he said, that just leads to the idea. I said, okay. So, go ahead.
The times that you were, say, shopping in Terre Haute, was it downtown or was it in West Terre Haute?
Oh, no, it was downtown.
Okay.
Now, in West Terre Haute, that's where we got all of our, I almost said drugs, we got all of our medicine, let me put that way.
Dodge Drugs?
Dodge Drugs, yes, absolutely.
Must have the best ice cream.
Oh, yes, they did. And they also had that Tasty Freeze, or that, we used to get those malts for $0.25. All those things were good. And we always shopped there at they had like I think it was Ace Hardware.
Yeah.
And we used to do that. But now for other stuff, you shop right downtown Wabash because that's where all the stores were at. They didn't have any malls. I mean, that was all farmland. You had Mises and Schultz, and you had Rogers Jewelers. You had I think you had Hellman's.
Roots?
We had Roots. You had Pennies. I mean, you had all those stores. I mean, this is Wabash was a
Montgomery Ward was right on the corner there.
Yes. And lest we forget, you had on Wabash you had the Grand Theater, and on Ohio Street you had the Indiana Theater, which is still there. But you had the Grand Theater. Did you remember it?
Oh yes.
Those lights and they were just. I think that's why they call it the Grand Theater. But my mother and her sister, my Aunt Charlene, they took us to our first movie, and it was at the Grand, and it was Bambi. So, yeah. So it was, but even as we were growing up, we'd run around Terre Haute. Oh, also out on Wabash, they had Coney Island. Had those hot dogs and stuff, and we used to go over there, and of course, my mom's sister lived there, so we'd go there and hang out with our cousin, and he went to school over there. He graduated from Gershmeyer, and we had all those different high schools. And I played football against some of them in high school. Yeah, I remember going over to Garfield.
Did you ever visit the Grand or the Strand Theater here in Marshall?
I don't remember it because I don't remember what year that burnt down.
57, I think.
Okay, see, I was 7 years old.
It was late 50s.
Yeah, so I was 7. And so I never remember. I heard stories about it, but I don't remember it. And I could have been standing right beside it. But like I said, I was 7 when it burnt down. So, but we, of course, we'd come out here, for all the school activities and stuff. But as far as all of our shopping, especially like school clothes and stuff, my mother worked over at Levin's. You remember Levin's?
Oh, sure.
She worked there for years. Her and my aunt both, and In fact, when my brother Ed got in high school, he posed in their catalog for him, wearing some clothes. Yeah, he was
That was quite a store.
yeah. Oh, it was. But my mom loved shopping at Schulte's. I mean, I remember even when I come back to Vietnam, she said you were gone over Christmas, so she took me to Schulte's and bought me my Christmas present I'd missed while I was gone over in Vietnam. But we'll get that later, I guess.
Those old stores are all memories, but they were such a selection of stuff. And, I mean, even a place like Mises was one that they were very specialized, and they had a fancy women's department, and then they had the basement stores and all those things.
They were top notch.
They really were.
And Wabash itself, man, that was like the well, but it was 40.
Sure.
So you also had your traffic going through there.
And it was Christmas time. My goodness, the decorations and stuff across.
Beautiful.
You remember those too?
Oh, yes, I do. Just absolutely beautiful. And when you see that, you got automatically excited for Christmas.
Yeah.
Because then you start thinking, oh man, and of course, kids are presents. But one thing my dad told me that I never forget, we'd be driving down the road and he'd see a sign that said Merry Xmas. And it upset him. He'd say, when they put that in, it said they're taking Christ out of Christmas. I've never forgot that. And I told it to my kids and grandkids.
Good.
I said, don't use the word Xmas. I said that you got to keep Christ in Christmas. That's it, because that's what it's all about.
And so much now is Happy Holidays, which is fine.
Don't offend anyone, right?
Yeah.
Happy Holidays is fine if you're saying just you talk about all the holidays together. Hey, happy holidays on New Year's. But now they want you to do it because it's politically correct.
With going through grade school, and you mentioned going to the north to junior high here. Mm-hmm. What year did you leave junior high and go into high school?
1964.
Was that a big change to go into high school?
I think it is for everybody because it's like you're going to the big house. You come out of junior high and you go, wow, and then you think, okay, you're going to have not just one class. We had 9 periods then, and we went from I think the last bell I want to say rang at 8:15 of the morning. And then at the end of the day, it was 3:25 before we got out of school, in high school. But my senior year, I went to school in the morning, and then I worked half a day. I was on the DE, it was DE then, Distributive Education. And I worked for Oscars. Do you remember Oscars? Mm-hmm. Store Oscars? Yeah, I worked there, $1 an hour.
And glad to have it.
And you could make that last too. I mean, mm-hmm. if you spent your money right. But I remember when I came into high school as a freshman, my English teacher my freshman year was going to be Margaret Thornsberg. And I remember her saying to me as I walked in, she looked at me, she goes, "And what's your name?" And I said, "Tim Duke." And she goes, "Not another Duke." So I'd already had 2 brothers go through. I thought, oh, this isn't good. Of course, when my brother Ed did, rascal, last day of school, he threw a firecracker under a chair. And those slanted windows? Mm-hmm. He slid out and took off. And I think she took that personal. But anyway, so she says to me, "Is there any more of you?" I said, "Well, you got 5 years to wait." But I said, "I have a sister." So first day of school, I'm sitting. She said something, I just made a joke. There was a table up at the front, facing the wall, against the wall. She had me go up there, where I was sitting almost even with her, only facing the wall. The whole class was behind me. And if I wanted to say something, I'd have to go like this, and she'd call on me. I'd sit there the whole year. All year. By myself. Lovely woman. Anyway, but I just, high school was, my first 2 years I played football. And then, but I just, I hadn't really decided what I wanted to do yet. And I tried some college at Lakeland. My mom and dad wanted me to be a pharmacist. So I got, this is where I should have thought about it. You want to be what you think you should do. But they were talking about, you can make a lot of money and all. So okay, so I'd never taken a lick of chemistry. So I got into chemistry class there as a freshman, and they all of a sudden the instructor come over hollering, carrying on. He said, "You trying to blow up the lab?" And I don't know what I'd done. I'm trying to mix something. I don't know what it was. So anyway, that didn't work out. I was taking a speech class, and my dad had brought me home. I had taken a few piano lessons. My dad brought me home an accordion. I was just kind of messing with it. And I just happened to have it up at college with me, because I just play around. I wasn't that good. So I came to speech class, and the speech teacher said, "What I want you to do is, I want all of you to do some activity that you like to do and everything, then I want you to explain it and tell us all about it." I thought, "Oh, cool." And I go, "Hey, I know. This won't take a lot of studying. I'm going to just really tell them about the accordion and get me a good old big A." So I got up there and I was talking about the accordion, and I said, "Now this is the notes, and then you got to squeeze to make the sound." And I was just throwing all kind of stuff out there. I felt so good about it. And I got my grade back, and there was a red D on it. And in writing right beside it, the instructor put, "Nice try, Mr. Duke, but I've been playing the accordion for 11 years.
Downhill from there.
Of all the things I could have picked, I picked the accordion. She'd been playing for 11 years. So that didn't work out well. So I had trouble studying in high school, and so when I dropped out of college, and when I did, they sent me a draft notice. That's when they were drafting. So I was ready to go to the draft, or ready to go to the Army. Well, then they decided to stop the draft at that time. They decided not to take anybody. So I thought, "Oh, good." So, and then in the meantime, I moved to Indiana for a while. Excuse me. And so then I got my draft notice again. They decided to have a birthday lottery. Yeah. So then in 1970, and my birthday hit in the 70s, so I knew then I was in trouble. But what was funny, my brother Bill came up going to Lakeland while I was there. Well, when I dropped out, they sent him a draft notice. They thought he was me. Oh. And I was in good shape, but he went and complained about it, and they fixed it. But anyway, so then I got my draft notice. So I went into the. Did you want to know more about my youth before I?
Well, I was wondering, what was your favorite subject in high school, maybe? Did you have one?
Yeah, I loved English as long as it was grammar, and that was even Mrs. Thornsburg. I didn't like the grammar part because I didn't like to read. But boy, the adverbs, the adjectives, doing all that, nouns and pronouns. Man, I was sharp on that. I loved doing that. But when it comes to you got to read and then write a story, I was just terrible. But that's where I did click. It didn't get me my desk back, but it did get some rapport with her and I because when it came to that, because I was always going.
I'll just turn that around. What was the subject you liked the least?
Math. Oh my gracious. And I took algebra 2, geometry, and trigonometry.
Ooh, ouch.
And I hated math. Go figure. I kind of had a guy tutoring me, trying to help me understand. But to this day, I still don't like it. But I can figure in my head better than I can on paper.
During those years and all, was there some maybe teacher or some person that really kind of influenced you thinking?
Oh yeah, Mr. Gwynn,
Gwynn?
Jim Gwynn.
Gwynn?
He was and I'll tell you how. Oh, I guess I better back up too. As a kid growing up, and us being in church, when I got 6 years old, my brother Bill was 7, my mother sat us down. She was going to teach us how to sing. See, she could sing harmony real well. So and of course she played the piano. So she taught my brother how, okay, you sing the lead, da-da. She came to me, see if you can sing this harmony. And I was singing, and I'll tell you what, man, that's worse than being taught by Mrs. Thornsberg. Because this is your mother, and you made a mistake. Now, when you sing out there, you don't make mistakes. It's okay. So she would, when I was taking piano lessons, she caught me once kicking the piano. But anyway, that was brutal. But anyway, she would say, now you can. Anyway, first time we sang in church, I was 6 years old. That's the first time I sang in front of people. What was kind of funny was Bill's shirt was buttoned cockeyed, and my shirt tail sticking out my zipper. So that was kind of a moral. Yeah, my mother looked up there and she got terrified. Of course, she was on the piano playing, and she started laughing, and she goes,
"This is Miss Nota."
Oh my gosh! So anyway, but that's how we come into our singing. And finally, when Bill was, I was 14. I was going to go into high school, so I waited too late. And Bill was 15. We decided to go to the conservatory. Mom wanted me to play the piano, so I took lessons for 2.5 years, and he took guitar lessons. And he still plays guitar to this day. And I can chord some, but I don't do a lot of that. But so then we got into music, and then in 1966, I was a junior in high school, and Bill was a senior. Actually, I think I was a sophomore, so it was 65. We started a rock and roll band, and like Beatles and all those that didn't have cuss words in them, and of course we played the variety show for the school, and everybody liked it. We had a good time. We'd go to banquets and stuff like that, and so my dad told us one day, he said, "All right, boys, let me say this to you. You want to sing rock and roll on Saturday night? That's fine." Because he knew where we was at, like Candy Kitchen, we'd sing that. And he said, "Sunday morning, you're better in church singing." And we did. We never missed church. And but we were called the Levi's, and we bought these Levi outfits, but we had a lot of fun, but yet we still did our church thing. I mean, that was.
When you were singing at church, did you once in a while get a little jivey to it, kind of bringing in the rock and roll?
Bringing in the sheaves? Well, let's put it this way. I was raised a Methodist, and we were kind of called the frozen chosen. Like, this is where you sat in school, in church, and you didn't dare say amen or raise your hand like that. Hallelujah, not like that. And I remember sitting to my mom and dad one time, and I'm just sitting like this, and there's a young man over here, and of course he didn't have to mind, and he was acting up, and all I did was, my mother's sitting here, and I've got this great, unfortunately, peripheral vision. I felt the side of my head getting hot. And she was about this far from my head, going like this, looking at me. And I'm just looking straight ahead. And all of a sudden I'm getting lightheaded and I'm thinking, what's going on? Then I realized I wasn't breathing. I started breathing real soft. So I stayed straight ahead. And all of a sudden I was kind of watching. Finally, she went back to the front. I went, and I just stayed focused straight ahead. And this moron kid over here was doing this all kind of stuff. But this is the way we had to, and we'd get taken out and whipped too. Or sometimes you could be sitting there and you get popped on the leg. And
didn't damage you either, did it?
No. my Uncle Junior was sitting next to me one day. That's my Aunt Charlene's, my mom's brother-in-law. He was sitting next to me. He's the one that broke me a pension. Because I was sitting there with him in church one Sunday, and I looked over and there was his leg. So, and see, I just wouldn't pinch. See, I'd take it and I'd twist it.
Ouch.
So he said, I grabbed a hold of his leg. He said, he'd come up like this, and I let go. And so I looked up at him and smiled. And he said, he waited till I was looking ahead. He grabbed me, and he wouldn't let go. He said he didn't let go till the tears come straining out my eyes. He said, you know what? He said, I don't remember you ever pinching again. But it was just, Dunlap has just great memories in my life, and just the people that we saw come and go up through there, and the kids. We were at Vacation Bible School. We had Vacation Bible School. We would, well, you know what excited us most about that? All the neighborhood kids, we'd ride our bikes up together. Yeah. Just it was like the Little Rascals gang.
So was it your mother's influence that really brought about your interest in music?
Yes, because now my dad's mother. The good thing is we have music on both sides, but my mother is the one who pushed us, because my poor dad, sometimes they would sing a duet together, and my dad, if he started going off, boy, she would let him have it. And she was my dad, he carried a big stick, but boy, she's the one that could really put the fear in you. And yeah, she pushed for the music, and my dad's mother's, oh my goodness, she had a beautiful operatic voice. She could hit a high A and just shatter the glass. And so a lot of this music was just genetic. Mm-hmm. I mean, as far as carrying a tune, my brother Ed, he couldn't carry a tune in the bucket. Okay. Oh, I mean, he could not. My sister, she can sing, but my brother Ed, he just, my goodness, he'd make the glass laugh at you. He couldn't. But she worked and worked. I mean, when say Easter, Christmas, I know I've jumped back again, but this helped me remember this stuff. But we'd have to sing. Bill and me and Mom would have to sing a trio every Easter, Christmas, and once we got out there singing, man, we became part of the process. Okay, we're putting you down to sing here and that, and so anyways, we come up. My brother Bill and I, we were. Of course, we would get around our relatives and we'd sing our rock and roll songs, and then we'd sing some gospel songs, just entertain them. And reunions. Did you bring your guitar? Yeah, here we go. And and of course, any of our relatives that to this day, any of our relatives that pass away, where they're singing, doing a lot of times Bill and I do them together, or we're doing both. I always tell somebody, you can tell what I'm doing at a funeral. If I'm wearing a suit, I'm officiating the funeral. If I'm just in a shirt and tie, I'm just singing at the funeral. If I'm just in regular dress clothes, then I'm just one of you out there in the. So
let's see, can you do half and half?
Yes. But we just Mom really taught us to love the music, and the love of singing.
You mentioned Jim Gwynn as being an influence.
Let me tell you about that, if I may. Jim Gwynn, now my first year, see, I took 4 years of course.
That's what I was wondering, if you were involved in the music program. I assumed you were, but...
Yeah, 4 years of course, because, well, I was just a singer. My freshman year, we had Mr. McFall was here. He was only here 1 year, I think, or 1 year from me. My sophomore year, Jim Gwynn came in, and him and I kind of got a real good rapport together. I was kind of his lead tenor, and in fact, it got to by the time I was a senior, it got to the point where if he had to leave or something, he'd put me in charge of the chorus, and I'd get the songs I loved singing, and boy, that's what we'd do. And he just he furthered my love of music, and in fact, the first time I saw him after I was out of school, it was at a church event somewhere here in town, and I remember what he said to me. He said, "You know, Tim," he said, "I'm really surprised." Well, he said, "I thought sure that you'd go to college and get into music." I said, "Well, you know something?" I still call him Mr. Gwynn then. I said, "I just made some bad choices." And but I said, "I wish I had, because this day I love music." But would you like to know how we got into the gospel thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So as me and Bill and Mom were coming along singing, we was going along, and so I mean all through high school, and even after I left town, my dad was still preaching over here, which he died of a sudden heart attack in 1973, 55, and he was still preaching at Oliver and Asbury then, and he passed away suddenly. And see, I'd always come back, and we'd always sing at Easters and all these special programs and all this stuff. And so we just kept doing that kind of thing. And then one day, my brother Bill and I, and he's been at his church. He's preached at his church for 38 years now. My brother Bill. And so we started going up there, and
of course that, Tim?
That's Sugar Grove United Methodist Church. That's in rural Chrisman.
Okay.
It's only a mile and a half from St. Bernice, Indiana.
Okay.
So it's just on the side of the line.
Sure.
So we started all singing together, and of course Mom was singing with us, and so one day my mom decided that Bill and I had decided in 1996 that we wanted to go out on the road and start singing. Well, my mother wrote us a letter, both a letter, and she said that she didn't want to do that, and she thought, if you boys go ahead, and we were going to bring my wife Alana in just to see if she could sing a fourth part and that. We tried it a couple of times, and finally my mom said, "Well, just have Alana do it." Said I'm going to retire from singing, and it would have been hard on her. So we decided. So Bill and I talked about it. He said, "What are we going to do?" I don't know. So Alana happened to be sitting there. She says, "Well, I can sing Mom's part, my mother's part." Bill and I looked at each other and kind of rolled our eyes. And I said, "You can sing Mom's part." She goes, "Yeah." She said, "I sang along with her all the time. I was sitting watching you guys sing." I said, so I looked at Bill and I go, I said, "You're going to have to audition." She said, "Okay." So we said, "Pick us a song." So she picked us a song. So us three took off on it. We got done. Bill and I looked at each other, looked at her, and at the same time said, "You're in." I mean, she had it to a T. I mean, she had that part, and she just made it happen.
Did she have some music background behind her?
Well, she was in the band in high school. She played the flute.
Okay.
But as far as going out and singing stuff, no, because in fact her parents didn't even encourage her to go to church, so in fact she didn't even go to church heavy until she got with me, but anyway, so we decided in '96 was going to go out, so we started. Man, it didn't take long for us to book. So we kept pretty well in a two-state area, Illinois and Indiana. And well, then our name started getting out there. So we decided, man, we've just got this little equipment we setting up. We got to have some big stuff. So we said, okay, we're going to have to use a lot of faith here. So we went over to Greencastle, Indiana. That's funny. That's where my mom's at now. They had that trailer place there on the corner. Hello? Yeah, yes, Pastor Tim. Okay. Okay. Yes, I knew that. Okay. 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 What time? That's not a problem. Just give me your address. I'll find you. Okay. In Urbana. Okay. I will find you. Order of service, okay. Oh, well, yeah, I always, is it okay if you and I just meet beforehand and talk? Because that's what I usually do, and yeah, I'll have an order of service, not a problem. Now, let's see, ask Linda if it's okay if I call her before the week, sometime before this weekend. Yeah, please. Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate it, and I will see you Monday morning. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Bye-bye. Okay.
You were talking about your buying equipment to get on the big time.
Yes. So we went over to Greencastle, and there was a place over there on the corner that sold trailers, and so we bought a 9-foot trailer. And at the time, Aaron Nivola, that's Jerry Garnett's son, worked in a music store over in St. Louis. So he called my brother and he said, we're having one heck of a sale, 40% off of all equipment, all things. So Bill and I, what we did, we all got together, and on the way over, we said a big prayer, putting our faith in the Lord that I mean, we didn't have the money. What we were going to do was we were just going to buy it. We was going to put it on Bill's credit card, and I was going to go get a loan and pay off his credit card. They said, okay. So we got over there, and all of a sudden we're going, well, we need this, we need this, we need this. And time we got done, it was over $6,000. Trailer was full. So we're all kind of a little apprehensive, you know.
Credit card was full too.
Oh man! So we're all kind of excited, and then at the same time we're going,
What we do?
Okay, so I told Bill, I'll go to my bank, to my money man, and I'll get us some money. It's not a problem. But said, because we got to pay this off, and and we hadn't really hardly been in the business yet. It was like, I think we got this a month later after we had started, and so we hadn't really done much yet. So we prayed again before we left over there, and it had rained. As we're driving out of St. Louis, we looked up, and there was a double rainbow.
Good sign.
Double rainbow. We looked up, and we said, "Thank you, Lord." And so we went. By the time we had 83 concerts that year alone, we all had full-time jobs. This was in 1996. And then when we got, I said we 1 year later, from when we got all the equipment, we paid it off. And this was just money that we got from singing. And whenever they'd ask us, "What do you charge?" we said, "We don't. It's all free will offering."
It works out the best.
Yes. And I said, "And if you don't have anything, we're still going to sing to you." And I mean, that was just, we could not put a price on our singing, and we wouldn't. So 2 years, going up 2 years to 1998, I was a mailman. I was working in Paris at the time, delivering mail. Well, Alana's mother was in the KZ. By the way, I went to work for the post office in '94, and so I worked full-time post office. And in '96, I was working at Paris then, because I started in Charleston with the Mattoon, and then in Paris, and then came to Marshall. But '98, I was in Paris, and the night before, Alana's mother had been put in the KZ nursing home. And so we'd wanted to visit her, and we went and ate some Kentucky Fried Chicken there at KFC. So we got home, and we was getting ready to go to bed. I sat down at the bed, and I said, "Man, what's wrong?" I said, "That chicken is giving me terrible heartburn." I said, "I'm not feeling too good." She goes, "Maybe y'all go to the doctor." I said, "Well, I think I'll be okay." So I'm out on the mail route, and I called Alana up. I said, "Could you call a clinic up here, just see if the doctor could just take a quick look at me?" I said, "It's not gone." She called the clinic. Clinic said, "You get him, tell him to get to the hospital right now." I thought, "What?" I said, "They're kind of overreacting." So I got to the hospital, and so I'm laying there, and they're checking me all over and everything. So they go, they're checking my enzymes and all that stuff. And I said, "So, bad heartburn, huh?" They said, "No." I said, "You had a heart attack."
Yeesh.
And so I got hooked up with it. So they were taking me to the hospital then. They said, "You got a hospital you want to go to?" I said, "Yeah, Union." So they're taking me over, and I said, "Aren't you going to run the sirens and the lights?" They said, "That's $100 more." I said, "Leave them off." So I got over to the hospital, and they hooked me up with a doctor over there. And here's what he told me. He said, "Be glad you came in when you did." He said, "There at the fork," he said, "you had 2 90% blocks." He said, "If you'd have waited much longer," he said, "you'd had a fatal heart attack." Yes. So you tell me, see, we're out singing 2 years, and we're out glorifying the Lord, and then all of a sudden I have this heart attack, which had it not got it checked out. So I had divine intervention, I'm telling you right there. So while I'm off, people kept hammering us about, "Hey, cut us a CD." Well, then cassettes were still heavy too. So if you cut a CD, that's 2 cassettes. Mm-hmm. So we had to get both, because a lot of our elderly folks, they still use cassette players. So I'm in '98. So my brother Bill comes to me. He said, "Hey, see, while you're off recuperating," he said, why don't we cut a CD?" But first he took me to Moonshine and got me one of those great big hamburgers. I thought, you trying to do me in? What's the deal? So we went down to Crusade Studios that was there then. It was in Flora, Illinois. And we cut a CD. And you know how these folks cut these CDs, they have 10, 11 songs on it? We said, we're going to fill that thing till there's nothing left. And so we had, on our first one night, we had 20 songs.
Wow.
And what we did, we brought our mother in, and we had her record 2 songs with me and Bill to honor her.
Sure.
And so we did that, and then after I got well enough, we went back out on the road and started hitting it again. And in 2000, we cut our second CD. We brought Mom in for 2 more. And then in 2002, we cut our third CD, our last CD. And we brought Mom in for 2 songs again. And when we did that, for every CD, like I said, it was 2 cassettes. So we did sell those, but we only sold the CDs for $15 and the cassettes for $10. So, because we wanted to share, we weren't there to make the money. We were there to share our music, and that's what was instilled in us growing up. It was our music, So, and we wanted to share that with folks because we knew it blessed them. And to give you for instance. Hello? Okay, what's up? No. Boy. Can you get it out of there? Okay, be very careful. Okay, the keys are in it. Okay, bye. Len had an appointment at 3. Because she had that surgery. She's okay, she can drive. So anyway, where's that? Oh.
You took up the surgery and
Yeah.
CDs.
Yeah, so anyway, we cut our third one. But I want to back up to 1998. Alana's mother had died that year, so we dedicated that CD to her. And Alana took some of the money that she got from her mother, and she bought us these white jackets. And on the back it said Duke Family Gospel Singers. We had double rainbows on it and everything.
Neat idea.
And one day after church, me and Alana and it was just me and Alana, we decided to go over to Bob Evans and eat. So as we walked in, we was wearing our jackets, and there was an elderly couple sitting there side by side facing us, and I looked at them and I spoke to them, and they spoke, and I took off my jacket and I put it on the back of my chair. Excuse me. So we was sitting there and we was talking, and we got done eating, and finally I said, "Ma'am," I said, "I'd like to order those big cinnamon rolls for dessert." And I said, "Then if you can bring me my ticket." She said, "You don't have a ticket." I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You know that elderly couple sitting behind you?" I says, "Yeah." She said, "Well, they saw your jacket and said that you've blessed them more than once by singing."
Were they gone by then?
Yes, and they wanted to pay for your meal.
Wow.
And of course I was kidding, and I said, "I wish I'd known that before I'd ordered this roll sooner." I was kidding her. But see, just that by reading the jacket, it blessed them, because they were must have been at some of our concerts, because they said we had blessed them, and they wanted to give us a blessing by.
Tim, a little while back you mentioned a young lady's named Alana, I believe it was.
Yes.
Where did she happen to get into the picture? You didn't mention where you met her or when you met her?
Okay. I met her in 1988. Let me run I was in the grocery business first. I worked different jobs. I was in I worked at the tape plant, and I was a group leader at the tape plant over at Columbia Records back in the early '70s. I was let's see. Then I got in the grocery business, and I was in grocery management for 6 years, and then and then I moved to Texas for about 13 months because it was I had a friend down there I was in Vietnam with, and he wanted me to move down there, so I moved down there, and I worked in the grocery business down there. Well, then in 1986, that's when the recession was starting to hit, and it was hitting Texas, and they were panicking. And I told them, I said, "You had no idea." I said, because the steel mills were shutting down and stuff. I said, "You got to relax and ride it out. That's all you can do." Well, I moved back up here. Well, I got on at Waco out here in 1986 when I came back. So I was I finally ended up as the production manager. I ran the shops I finally got that job in, it was probably 80, probably about 87, I became production manager. Well, in 1988, I was back working in my office, and they brought this lady back. And they said, "I want you to meet, this is our new secretary up front." So this is Alana Dahl. She was Alana Dahl, and I go, "You in relation to Nancy Dahl?" Of course, everybody knew Nancy. She was my other Ed's age. She goes, "Yeah, she was my cousin. Her dad and her dad were brothers." I said, "Oh, nice to meet you." And I said, "You must be from Denison." She goes, "Yeah." Well, I didn't realize it. You remember as a small boy, when I was up there at Joe John's store getting that pop and peanuts, she lived right on the other side of the tracks. So I kid people and I say, "Yeah, she lived on the wrong side of the tracks." And I kid people. But we introduced, and here's the mistake they made. At that time, the trucks that we were sending out, their mileages and stuff was off. So they told me, they said, "We want Atlanta to work closely with you in the office here to try to get these books straight." Well, let's just put it this way: we worked closer and closer and closer. And so anyway, I'll tell you what, to tell you how it was love at first sight and how we got close. Now, Atlanta already had 2 kids, and what I want to tell you this, that I really not, but I was married back in the 70s, and I lost that's when I lost my little girl, and that marriage just went, that's the only thing that was holding it together. So anyway, I met Atlanta. She had 2 kids, and she was, Dave was 10 and Dee Dee was 15. She was a teenager. And so we got to have a close relationship. We talked and talked about things and how they, all messed up things were and everything. And actually this was 87, I'm sorry. It was the fall of 87 when I met her. Well, things got around and then we started dating and things went around and then in July of 1988, we got married. And so Dave was 10 and Dee Dee was 15. So my son Dave, he decided that after, it was probably, I bet it wasn't more than a year or so later, I adopted him. He has my last name now. Dee Dee, she was a teenager. She wasn't sure about that. So I didn't adopt her, but I helped raise her. And but I'll tell you how that's come out is Dee Dee's in my church on Sunday morning every Sunday, and she has 2 kids. She gave us 2 kids, so we have 2, and then our son is married, and he lives over at Cloverdale, Indiana. He has 2 kids. Well, in 19, it was a couple years after Lynn and I were married, she was asking me, she knew I'd been thinking about it, she wanted to know if I wanted a baby, and I'm scared because of the way I lost my other one, and I'm because that she died in '76, and that's the only time I turned my back on the Lord. I was so hurt and devastated.
Sure.
I couldn't understand, Lord. I've been so faithful and all that stuff, and that lasted for a week. I was so low, I had to look up just to see the bottom, and I was miserable. And the minute I said, Lord, I'm sorry, take this from me, I could feel it. I could feel it being lifted. And then I realized, but yet, your Father gave you, perfectly sacrificed you for the world. And I've told this story, and I honestly think the thing that really now hurts me the worst is that I turned my back on him. I think it hurts me more than anything. I mean, I still miss my little girl. I mean, she's only 20 months old, but I know where she's at.
I've heard that very comment though from a lot of people.
So when she said, I said, I don't know, I'm a wreck. Finally, I said, okay. And my brothers, my two brothers, my brother Ed had 5 sons. Bill had 2 sons. My sister Diane she had 3 sons, but one of them was stillborn. So I said, Bill, I only have girls. Well, so I said, okay. Well, then she was born, and my daughter Katie was born in January 5th of '91. And of course, we had her in our room for a while. Then when we moved her to her own room, I had these baby monitors up, and every time I couldn't hear her breathing, I jumped up and ran in there. Lana said, she said, you're driving yourself nuts. Finally, I was so wore out, I finally said, Lord, I put her in your hands. Well, your will be done. I dedicate her to you. And she's 25 years old now. She's married. I know who I'm talking about. She works at the Marshall Advocate, Katie. And she's also sitting in church every Sunday morning at my church. And she teaches our grown-up kids or young kids.
Now, Tim, you were involved in Postal Service.
Yes.
And I know you were here in Marshall for a while, but then were you participating anywhere in ministerial work, anywhere along the way?
Yes. Now here's the good story. I have filled the pulpit since the 70s, over 40 years. I mean, fill in.
Okay.
I did not want to be a pastor because to me, if you're going to be a pastor, he's got to call you. I didn't have the calling like my brother Bill did. He became a pastor in the early 70s. But I filled in for over 40 years. I even filled in for my dad when he was alive a couple of times.
Okay. I guess I didn't know all that.
Yeah. So I would fill in and that, and then all of a sudden, do you want me to hit the mail service and then back to this? Or?
If you like, yeah.
Okay, let me stick with that. My brother Bill was the mail service in '73. He put in 31 years before he retired. I tried to get in the mail service, and I took the test so many times, and I found out I was doing it wrong. I thought it was you took your time and make sure you got the right answers, but what it is, you get a quarter point off the ones you don't finish. I finally realized I was doing it wrong. I'd taken it so many times that I was correcting the instructor when he left something out or something. He said, you think you've taken this before? I said, a few times. And finally, in 1992, I got hired with the post office. I was 42 years old. I carried the mail out of here clear up to I was 58 years old. I started in Charleston, transferred to Mattoon, transferred to Paris, and then in '98 I came to Marshall.
Okay.
And I carried mail till 2008. My knee don't have any cartilage left in it, and I couldn't do it anymore. So I moved inside. We had an opening. I worked my last 5 years in here. They offered now I'll get back to that. Now that was in 2000. In 98, yeah. So in 2013, well, first, now I'm going back to the preaching. I was going to my brother's church, and I'd fill in for him too sometimes who was gone. We had a revival up there in 2011, in October of 2011. So I'm standing there, and they gave the invitational, and I'm all of a sudden just this concern for the lost came over me, and I thought, man, we got to get outside these four walls. We got to reach these folks. We got to help them see what this is all about. All I said was, Lord, I'm ready when you are. Are you ready? 2 weeks later, Alana and I are sitting in another living room watching TV, and the phone rings. And I looked at my caller ID, and I saw Leon Nicholson. I said, "That's got to be Diana." So I said, "Hello." She goes, "Tim." I said, and she said, "Listen, so I just want to put a bug in your ear." I said, "What's that?" Because I had also filled in there a couple of times. I mean, I'm talking about even way back. And we had sang there as a group too. She says, "We need a new pastor." I said, "What happened to Norris?" I said, he said he's going to retire. I said, "Okay." I said, "Look," I tried to go in there once. And I said, that didn't work out. Because I said they wanted somebody full time, and I was still at the post office. And she said, "But we want part time this time." I said, "I don't know." She goes, just put it in. And then I'm thinking, could it be? I said, "Okay, I'll put it in." So I put it in, and it come between me and they had like 9 applicants, even some woman from Florida. They took it down to 3. Me and 2 guys from Terre Haute. Okay, so this was in October 2011. February the 12th, 2012, I became the pastor of the First Congregational Church.
That was full-time.
Well, yeah, I was their pastor, yeah. And 4 months after I said, "Lord, I'm ready when you are," March 18th, they ordained me. Now, I'm going to say this. I know there's a lot of pastors that say, "Well, we went through seminary, we went through all these classes, and you're ordained," and that. And I look at them, I said, "Look, I did something that I feel like is just as important. Could be more important. I really don't know." I said, "Anybody that went through those classes," I said, "My hat's off to them. They really are, and because they just well deserve me." But I said, "I did something more, just as important." They said, "What's that?" I said, "I've got over 40 years of on-the-job training." And I said, "I'm ordained under God." And I said, another thing, when I came to this church, I said, "I'm not doing denominations. I'm not going by any more man-made ordinances, no more man-made conferences." I said, "Here's our ordinance right here. Everything we do is going to be according to God's word, including my preaching." And that's why you see on my sign, "One God, one Bible, one church." I brought that in there as my motto. And it's on my cards. And I said, "So if these pastors want to point fingers at, so be it." I said, I told God when he's ready, I'm ready. He took me at my word.
And I think having someone with a local background is important also.
Oh, it is.
I'm sure that's helped you out.
It has. And of course, then I went through I remember the first Sunday I walked in there. I'm by myself. I looked up and I'm looking at the church. I come from old country churches, you know what I mean? Old Methodist country churches. And I go, "Lord, I don't want to sound unappreciative. I don't want to sound, I don't want to sound, negative in any way. Are you sure about this? This is a big church. And then I could feel it. I felt like he wanted to. And I remember my start, I just felt uncomfortable. But here's what I did tell the church, my very first Sunday. I said, look, we had all these meet and greets and all these, we had to wait another week, but we had to preach another time and all that stuff. I said, so I'm going to give you my resume, my own, to the congregation, like I had to give to the pulpit committee. And I wiped it out there and I said, now look, this is what I'm going to say to you. Number one, before we come in the church door, we're going to take the chip off our shoulder. We're going to take the feelings off our sleeve. I said, there's not going to be any holier-than-thou attitudes. There's not going to be any arrogant churches or arrogant Christians. I said, we're going to be a church family. I said, that's the only way I'm going to be your pastor. See, I've been there over 4.5 years.
Did you get any feedback from that? I'm just curious.
Nope. No. And I went in there and I changed some of their traditions. They had that midnight Christmas Eve service every year. I took that out. I said, look, I know you've had that. I said, but what we're going to do is, I said, now on Sunday morning, we'll have our special communion service and all that. On that night, we'll have our Christmas service. We'll have our candlelight, just like you did on Christmas Eve and all that. I said, Christmas Eve, I said, I want families together. I said, look, December 25th is a man-made day. It doesn't say what day to celebrate, as long as you celebrate.
Right.
As long as you celebrate. And I had some people been there a long time that didn't care for that. So what I did the first year I did Christmas Eve, and I got it down to 8 o'clock because they were doing it 10:45 at night, going to midnight or 1. People carrying out their kids, I guess. So the very next, Alana goes, what are we going to do about this year? I said, we're going on vacation. So I went on vacation, wasn't even here, so we had to do a Sunday night service. I wanted to get him. So the next year, I got it through. You know how many of those older people came to me and said, man, we were like this. And besides that, my piano player, old Robin, when you got people that come from broken homes, they've got 3 and 4 sets of families they got to try to do, and then she's trying to worry about their music. I said, no more. They need to enjoy their family time too. So I decided, since Christmas is on Sunday this year,
yes.
Now what I'm going to do there, I'm just going to have a short service there. I'm still going to have my Christmas service. It's going to be the Sunday before. And then the Friday night before Christmas, on Friday night, like I have on Sunday night, I'm going to do an 8:30 service at night just to give them a little. I have my candlelight then. And then I'm going to preach and have a thing on Sunday too. I'm still going to have a service.
On Christmas Day.
Oh yeah. So I said, why? Before I came, they closed, or the last time they had Christmas on Sunday, they closed the church. I said, wait a minute. I said, we had church every Sunday. I said, and then you're going to close on Christ's birthday? I said, No, they didn't even mention it. I said, no, we're going to be open. So, I'm not going to have Sunday school. I'm just going to have church, and then that way people go ahead and get back to their families and stuff. But we're having church. I'm giving a message.
You've given some really very interesting background, and I think we've learned a lot of things that you've said. Is there any historical event somewhere that's taken place in your lifetime that you really has it made an impact on you?
Historic events. Well, I'll tell you something I'm very serious about. Let me finish my military. That's the part that really is in me. I finally went into service in 1970, April 16th, 1970. I was drafted I got inducted in April 16, 1970.
Into
You know
the
what's
Army?
Huh?
Army?
Army, yes, U.S. Army, absolutely. And what's good about that date too? In April 16th of '88, the landline got engaged. That's pretty good. But anyway, so I went into service. I went to basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and then after that, I spent my AIT, which is Advanced Infantry Training, in Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Oh.
We had a class of 36 people, and when it came time to get our orders, 24 went to Germany. 7 went to Vietnam, and 5 stayed in the United States. Stayed in the States. I was one of the 7. Went to Vietnam. I've got some pictures. I was there a year, and they told me if I signed up for an extra month, that they would let me out 5 months early. And so I did. I signed up, and they did let me out. And it was an experience. The troubling part was what I was hearing back home, because people were so upset and so mad because it was a political war. That's just basically what it was. And then, and by the time we were coming back, of course, they were starting to pull more and more out. This was in 1971. In fact, I got back into the States in November of '71. And when we got off the plane and we were in uniform, there were all kind of protesters there. There were all your flower children there, and they were hollering women and baby killers at us, and they were even spitting on us. And if it hadn't been for the airport security, we'd have probably had a war right there, because it was just brutal. And I was discharged out in California, Veterans Day, November 11th, 1971. So that's kind of a special date in my head there.
See, that date's coming right up.
Yes, and I came back home, and when I was in uniform, it was just like nobody welcomed me home. Nobody would hardly. They'd look at me, and you could just see the look on their face of anger, or just like, well, what'd you do that for? It's for nothing. And to this day, it just
That'd be tough.
It disturbs me.
Sure.
And that's why when you see Vietnam veterans, they'll greet each other and welcome each other home. I would just, and that's just something that's bothered me all these years.
Have you been to the Vietnam Memorial in Washington D.C.?
Yes.
The wall, and then it was, of course, the moving wall was here too.
Yeah, I saw it too. And of course, I wore my shirt, and I ran with some Vietnam veterans, and it was just such a special thing in Washington D.C. And I could just feel.
It's an emotional.
Yes, I could feel that whole thing, and but it's just like now. I was so blessed last year when I think it was Bob Murphy. He asked me if I would help him out with the tigers, the black tigers they brought down in that special program, and it was just a special program, and we just and now I see these football players that's desecrating the flag by either the raising of or the stooping down or the sitting down. I mean, this flag and this freedom was bought and paid for by many. And to me, the real heroes are the ones who didn't come back. And this is the most, other than God, the most important thing that really hangs beside my family too is is my service and the folks who are serving now, and that's where like we took a trip to Branson, Missouri, and they honor the veterans.
Yeah.
They do.
Big time.
And you're driving down 76, and there's a big display of the Ten Commandments, and it's just that just blesses my heart. It really does. And but we've gotten away for just the reality of what these men and women go through in the service, and it's a shame. But that is story. It was the service. It was the service, especially basic training, that gave me self-discipline. It really did. It all the way from I was shooting at this target and I couldn't hit it. And then all of a sudden I realized when I was shooting, the guy next to me, his target was going down. And finally the drill sergeant made everybody stop, and he said, I want to see Duke shoot by himself. So I shot, and that guy's target, and man, he was just in. And finally I said, I'm aiming at my target. Well, this senior drill sergeant had set my sight. So he looked at it, he goes, who set my sight? I said, you did. He goes, I did not. I said, yeah, you did. Well, he reset it, but then when we got back to company, for a half hour, I had to run around the company with my weapon over my head because I'd argued with him. But he's the one that said it. But I'll tell you what, I got in trouble a couple times. I mean, clean trouble, just because of one drill sergeant goes, he called me Dukes. I said, Duke. I said, it's Duke. He said, what do you want to bet me that I go through the rest of the time not calling you Duke? I said, will you do 50 push-ups?
Oh.
He goes, no, but you can do 12 laps in the low crawl pit. And I said, it's raining. He goes, oh, thanks for reminding me. He said, take your raincoat with you. So I put on that hot raincoat and crawled through the mud, up and down with one lap. But you know, when I got out, he promoted me. And I was, but that gave me because, you know, growing up, as I was sharing with you a while ago, we led sheltered lives. Really did, because you were told everything to do, how to do it, when to do it, and you better do it, you know. And here I got self-discipline, and it really got me, and that helped me go into Vietnam. It really did. So, but anything historical that has to do with the service, I'm there. I mean, I watch all these things on TV. Atlanta and I went to Hawaii, and we stayed at Maui, and this was some years back. But we took a one-day flight over to the main island. So I went to the Arizona, and you could still smell the oil.
Yeah, you can even see it bubbling up.
Yes, and that was special too. But we need to continue to honor our military, and I don't know, even that's changed in a lot of ways. But
then we've got so many modern things and conveniences all around us everywhere. Is there something you would say, gee, I just couldn't live without that?
Well, when we were growing up, we had an outhouse. We did not have an inside bathroom. And it sat right out there this side of the clothesline was out here, but this outhouse was right there. And in fact, it had a hole in the top. My dad could stick his head out through it. And it had a little heater in it for the winter time.
It was heated, wow.
Yeah, we had a heater. And boy, you know, you get cold sometimes. You'd run out there and you'd run back. And one day we was up at church at Dunlap. One of the neighbors was driving by, so they drove up to the church, and they come in and told us that our outhouse was on fire. That heater was short heat, had to heat it, and it just, and but it so Dad put in an inside bathroom. Me and my brother said, man, if we'd known that, we'd have burned ourselves. We'd known it was an inside bathroom.
I love it.
But as far as, is there one thing that I couldn't live without? first of all, the Lord, and then family. I mean, this is all stuff. This is stuff that we can't take with us. If we're spiritually where we need to be in our lives, that's all we need. We don't need anything else.
Okay, Tim, you've really given some really good insight to things. It's been just a joy visiting with you. I guess the one last question, I usually ask this about everyone. You're traveling somewhere, let's say maybe in England or something, and you meet someone, they say, where are you from? You'd say, well, from Marshall, Illinois. They say, gosh, well, where's that and what's that all about? What would you tell them about Marshall and why it might be a good place to visit?
Well, we did go to France. Katie's, when she was in college over at St. Mary of the Woods, she was in a singing group over there,
That's right.
the Crown Madrigals, and they were going to take a trip around France, and so we ran a lot of people over there, and but if one of them had asked me, they probably did, but what I've always said about Marshall, and I will to this day, Marshall is probably one of the cleanest towns I've ever seen. I mean, it's kept clean. It's it's very homey, and people, and for the most part, people will reach out to you and make you feel welcome. And say that's why I do in my church when we have what we call a meet and greet. I said if we got visitors, I said you make them feel, and I've had every one of them leave and say, "Well, I feel a lot of love in this church." Well, this is what I want to continue to feel in this town. I know this town's got some problems like all towns do, but if we all get back to the basics, and it's basics, it's not something that you have to be taught. It's just the basics of loving each other, helping each other, not expecting anything in return. You know, when I was growing up, you could help somebody. Hey, you owe you anything? No, don't worry about it. But you see them in need, you help them out. And not in this day and age. They want you paying back. But this town is still I still see a lot of good people. I see a lot of good people trying to make this town prosper even more. And I've tried to be a part of that as well. I've helped get prayer back in the school board. I was getting prayer back in the city council, but I've been so busy, I've kind of got, it's we've got to go out. We've got to go out and run the masses. I tell my church every Sunday, we've got to go outside the four walls. And there's people in need. Not just spiritually, but there's people in need that don't have things. It's not that needs to be a part, but they still need to survive. There's people who need food. There's people who need clothes. There's people who need direction, and we got to be willing to step up, not wait till they ask, but say, what can I do for you? Because what the Lord do for us.
Well said, Tim, and that's a great summary. It's been a delight visiting with you. I certainly appreciate your time and your sharing with us. And this is really not necessarily for today or tomorrow, but this, as the name implies, is history. And somewhere someone's going to read through that or listen to that and say, I didn't know that about Tim Duke.